Hey guys and girls, today we're going to show you how easy it is to do kite launching from the boat. Obviously we don't all have the luxury of living right by the ocean, so for those of you that live near a lake or on a lake, we're going to show you step by step exactly how you launch safely a kite from the boat, go kite, and then come back to the boat and bring the kite back in. So you might be thinking, why can't I just launch from land? Well, you can if you have a long amount of cleared area and the wind is blowing perfect conditions on shore or slightly off angle on shore. But for most of us on a lake, you don't have that option. So launching from a boat is awesome because you go out in the lake, anchor up, and as long as you have enough room, you can have wind conditions in any direction. And you just launch, kite, and when you're done, you come back to your boat and you're done. You don't have to worry about trees and people in the way on the beach or tangling up with anything. It's just a lot easier. And if the wind craps out on you, the boat just comes and picks you up. So we're going to show you all the little tricks and trades that we learned along the way to make it really easy and simple to do once you get the hang of it. So, first thing you want to do is lay out your lines. Very simple, just like you normally would do. Lay out your lines. Now, if you've never laid out your lines, you're not trying to do that, then launching from a boat is not the best way to start. If you're familiar with how to launch from a beach, then this is a lot easier. So you lay your lines, now you pump up your kite, and then you connect all your lines up like they're supposed to. And you check them there, check them twice to make sure they're not crossed up, make sure they're all laid out correctly like we have here. Then you want to go and pinch off the tubes going to your struts. You'll see why later on, but just pinch every one of your pinch tubes on each of your struts. So that when you deflate the kite, the struts stay inflated. This makes managing the kite a lot easier, as well as pumping it up on the boat, than it would be if you just completely deflated the kite. So once you have your struts pinched off, go ahead and let the air out of your kite. Then roll up your lines, just like you normally would to store them. Just roll them up. You don't need to get all the way into the kite. As you can see here, leave about 10-15 feet distance between the handlebar, the control bar, and the kite. You'll see why shortly. Next, you want to go ahead and roll up your kite. Make sure your lines don't get tangled. Again, this is just want to make sure the last thing you want to do is deal with this out on the water. Toss your bridle into the kite, making sure that again it's not tangled, and just roll it up. You don't have to make it super tight. It doesn't even have to be that pretty. All you're trying to do is make it manageable to carry around. And make sure that as you roll it, if you get a bridle hung around the end of it, toss it back in the middle. It's all about just taking your time and doing it right. Once you're done rolling one side, then you'll go roll the other side. And when it's all said and done, it's going to look like a big taco. The key here is make sure that all your lines are nice and straight, not tangled. You see how much easier it is to carry when it's inflated with the struts? It doesn't collapse on itself. You actually have some structure. And this is a 17-meter kite. This is about as big as you're going to get. Yes, they make 19s now too, but pretty much this is the most difficult kite to manage, so we're showing you how to do a 17. So anything smaller will be easy. Now roll up the spare line. You don't need to roll it the traditional way because you want it to easily be able to unroll and not have the whole spool come loose. So again, just roll it up. Now here's the important thing. Do not just toss the bar into the kite, and make sure when you're rolling it, you're keeping the strings in the same direction. You don't want to have the handle go up underneath it, and you don't want to toss it in there, because when you pull it back out, there's a good chance to get the lines crossed up. Ask us how we know that. Now you can just pick up the kite in one hand and pick up the control bar in the other and walk onto the boat with it. Now you see here on the boat we have, again, the control bar separated from the kite. You don't want it in the middle of it. It's too easy to accidentally pull it out and have the lines tangled. And here we have our return line. Basically, when you're done, you're first learning it, and you can't maybe necessarily jump and land on the boat, you want to have this return line. And what that is a beaner. It hangs off a rope and floats in the water, so you can come by the front of the boat, downwind obviously, grab onto that, and hook your control bar onto that. So that way you can stop without feeling like you have to run into the side of the boat. If you're good and you've done this before, and you can jump onto the boat, land on the boat, zip right up beside it, that's great. But if you're just learning this, you want to have lots of room to be able to go by and not feel like you have to hit the boat. So what you do is you have that rope with the floaty floating downwind of the boat, and that gives you an extra 10, 15 feet, however long you want to make it. So that way you have something to stop in the water and then clip on to your chicken loop, disconnect from your chicken loop, hop in the boat, and you're good to go. And you want another, and this is what you're going to use when you're launching the boat. This is another rope, about 2.5, 3 feet. It's basically what you're going to anchor to the boat somewhere on a cleat. Now on our pontoon boat, we kind of purpose built this, so we put a mount right in the middle. And that way, when you launch this thing, you're not connected to it. If you have any issues, any problems, you don't want to be connected to this thing and get yanked off the boat. All this is about safety, being careful. Here you can see we have a electric pump. Makes life a lot easier, especially when you're doing a 17-meter kite. If you don't have one, you can still do this. It just takes a little bit longer. So here you are, and what you want to do now is anchor up once you get on the water and put a floaty on the end of the anchor rope. Why? Because if somebody needs to go and get you, they need to be quickly detached from the anchor and go get you. You don't want them having to come and spend 15 minutes pulling up the anchor, get stuck on a tree, dilly-dally, meanwhile you're getting pulled around somewhere. So always make it quick and easy to release with a floaty so they can come back. Now that you're hooked up on anchor, you want to go ahead and lay out your lines and let them drift downwind from you. And this is another reason why you want to anchor. If you weren't anchored, the boat would be going downwind also and running over your lines. So again, you want to anchor, let the boat drift downwind, hooked up on the anchor, put the floaty on the end of it and quickly to release it, and then toss out your lines. And just try to kind of toss them, so that they're spaghetti shaped. Don't spin them around at each other so you might accidentally get a knot. It's very unlikely to happen, but it can. So just take your time and make sure you do it the same way we show in the video. Constantly looking for any knots. You don't want any knots in your lines. And you'll have another chance later on to make sure they're not crossed up once you launch the kite. Again, we're trying to show you the safest way to do this. There may be quicker, simpler ways to do it, but this is for us the safest, easiest way with the least amount of issues and troubles that we've found to do this. So once your lines are run out and drifted downwind from you, you would go ahead and connect your control bar to a cleat or an anchor somewhere on the boat. And you want to use carabiners so that you can connect in there once you've launched the kite. Again, this is for new people. If you know what you're doing, none of this is not as much as this is important. But the first few times, it's good to be safe, and that's why we made this video. So you anchor it down so when your kite launches, it's connected to the boat and not you. So if there's any issues and it flings up in the air and the lines are crossed, it's connected to the boat, not you. So now here's the important part. You want to make sure the lines go to the right or the left of the kite from the bar, but from the kite they need to go right down the middle. What you don't want are those lines in the middle accidentally on one side or the other because then when the kite flips up, then you might have some lines on the inside and some on the outside. So run the lines going through the middle of the kite out to the water, and when they come back, run them to the right. Now, once it's up, double check your bridle again. Make sure there's no tangles, no issues, and then go ahead, and once you got it all good, go ahead and toss the kite in the water. If you haven't already, anchor your handle. We took it off for a minute, but we're going to put it back on anchor. A little choppy out today. And here the key is, when you flip the kite over, make sure that you flip it on top of the lines and not coming underneath them. Sometimes you get in a hurry and somehow the lines, as you can see on the right, if they accidentally got underneath the edge of the wing and flipped underneath it, then you've got lines above it and below it. These are really the only ways you can really make a mistake, is accidentally crossing up the lines. It's not the end of the world. You just have to bring the kite back in and fix it. But the whole goal of this is to avoid that issue and just do it right the first time. Now you got the handle connected, flip over the kite, and put it at an angle so that it goes and drifts slowly. You really don't want to have the kite go flying downwind from you really, really fast and then all of a sudden jerk and load up, and if there's something wrong, it's better to have it drift slowly. So throw it sideways and just keep an eye out. You may not have as luxury as we do of having a flat platform, so just make sure the lines aren't getting hung up on anything, on the cleats or anything like that, a chair or whatever. And make sure that that bar is all the way extended. You don't want that thing loading up and then yanking it and accidentally, doing something. So now the kite is all the way at the end, and you can check the lines one last time that they're all straight. And this is another reason why you anchor up. Imagine if you were connected to yourself right now and they were crossed up and it just pulled you in the water. Yes, the boat can get you, but that's kind of a pain in the butt. So you have, again, carabiner, lines, confirm straight. You're not getting pulled anywhere because you're anchored. So you have nice, calm, easy launch without any hassles or issues. Now you get the kite launched. And another reason you want to do this is making sure you have enough wind. You need to test the wind. There's nothing worse than saying, oh, I think I have enough wind. You launch the kite while you're in the water, and guess what? Not enough wind, and now you're 100 yards down and they got to go fetch you. So you got enough wind, test it out, everything looks good. Now normally you would just jump in with the kite and launch and go. One thing to take into account, very important, the board needs to go in the water first. Do not jump in the water and then you're 10-15 feet away and have somebody throw you the board. Get the board in the water first, let it go downwind, hop in, put the board on your feet and go. If you're really good, launch from the boat. Unfortunately today, the wind conditions were not cooperating. By the time we got to this point, the wind started crapping out. So we're going to assume we just got done kiteboarding, got back, and now we're putting the kite down. So here you are, you just finished. You came in front of the boat. You hooked up so that way you can get out of the water safely. Again, this is your first time. You're just learning. Obviously, if you're very experienced, you can land on the boat or zip right up to the side of the boat. But for those first learning, this is a nice, safer way. And now you would basically pull on the kite and depower it and bring it in. Now, if you're good enough to come into the boat and keep the kite in the air, which is fine, this is another way to bring the kite in. Lower it down to the water, and right before it touches, grab the top bridle line, pull it really fast, which will flip the kite on its front, depowered. Now you're good to go. Easiest way to do this is ask somebody to help you, and you pull in the bridle line as they roll up the lines on the bar in traditional storage fashion. That way, the kite is completely depowered and no worries of it powering up, and all the lines will be nice and clean as they roll the bar up and you pull the kite in. The key here is that you always keep more tension on that depower line than they do on all the other lines, which is not very hard. There's hardly any resistance. As you can see, I'm holding it with one hand. Get all that crap out of the way and just have them roll up the lines. Once the lines are all rolled up, you bring the kite in, flip it over on its back, deflate it, and roll it back up like a taco. The key here is just having everything clean and nice so that you can transfer it and move it around. Nothing gets damaged, nothing gets issued, and it looks like that when it's all said and done. Hopefully you enjoyed our video. We really greatly appreciate any comments, good or bad. Love to hear them. Any other advice you think we may have missed. But hopefully this video helped you see how the little tricks of the trade that we've learned over the times of doing it, of things to do, ways to make it safe, make it easy. But that's why we ask for the comments. If you have something that you know of that we didn't mention, go ahead and chime in, post up. Please be sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and please check out our website at foilusa.com. Anything you need, kiteboarding, water sports, foiling, we have it all. We get you taken care of, and we're always here to help. It's foilusa.com.